This is Mind Over Matter.
Good evening, I'm Mitch Friedman, and welcome to Mind Over Matter TV, where we like to teach you different tools and tricks and techniques for you to overcome the obstacles in your life and feel good and reach all your personal goals. Now, doesn't that sound like a good plan? And we're going to do that today with a really wonderful woman that I just met. Her name is Dr. Jane Eli. So welcome to the show, Dr. Eli. Yeah, my pleasure. We were talking about people taking responsibility and holding people accountable and digging deep and really getting into what's in the way of us having more well-being in our life and peace of mind.
You know, I love the name of your program, which says it's Mind Over Matter. And I would say that the crux of my work is mind with matter. And that is to find out what matters and then never mind. To learn how the tools, how to work with how the mind thinks it's in charge, but it really isn't. And then be able to take it from there, come back down into the heart, connect with the soul energy, and be able to work holistically to bring the energy forward in your life with clarity, with purpose, with intention. And so I say we bring the mind and the matter together. The mind and the soul together to make something else happen, to make alchemy happen.
Yeah, and that's where all the shifting and changing really starts to happen.
Yes.
So so again, welcome to the show. And Dr. Jane Eli is an eco-psychologist, an energy medicine practitioner, and a counselor.
Yes.
So yeah, that's a mouthful. So tell us a little bit about what that is, what that encompasses, and I love that that eco-psychology. So tell us a little bit about all of that.
Okay, all right. Well, eco-psychology comes out of the ancient traditions. It's returning to the teachings. And eco means environment. It's the environment in which we live, in which we work, in which we play, in which we have relationship. And so in the old ways, in the old traditions, we were connected with all the elements. We were connected with Mother Earth, with the air, with the seasons, with the fire, with the wind, with the place that we lived in, and we were connected in a sacred way. And we have lost that connection. We have defiled our environment, and we have done it willfully, and we have done it consciously. And so eco-psychology is bringing the soul back to the environment. It's bringing our soul being, our soul consciousness, our mind, our heart, our physical body, and our emotional body and our spiritual body back to what is important. And those primary things that are important in our life is the environment in which we live, work, play, love, have relationship. And so eco is that part of eco-psychology. Psycho comes from the Greek word soul, and that's what it means, soul. And ology means to study. So we're studying the environment in which the soul grows.
Wow, excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me ask you, when you talk about this eco-psychology and it's about bringing, the soul and all these transformations, is it connecting us back to the earth? Is part of it, is it more internal or is it external? Or is it bringing all that together?
Good question. Really good question. It's all of the above. It's the energy of working with our soul is a whole being. Our soul is actually what is driving the bus. And it's the other parts of ourself that we need to bring on as conscious travelers on this bus journey, on this place that we are journeying together. And so the whole eco-psychology is about getting in touch with the internal being. What matters? Who are you? What are you here to do? How have you been doing it so far? And what is your vision for the future? These are the 5 main questions that are facing humanity, our species, at this time.
And that pretty much covers everything. I mean, that's pretty complete, that little package, those 5 questions.
Yeah. And then, you know, when we answer those questions internally, then it can move to the external world. But it's not until we take self-responsibility, and here we go back to the self-responsibility, it's not until we can answer these questions in an internalized way, with consciousness, with self-forgiveness, which is a big part of the practice that I teach, and learn the skillful means to navigate the exterior world, because the exterior world right now is very chaotic. It's extraordinarily chaotic. It's what I call a lot of lower astral energy debris is coming up, and it's coming up for us to shine the light on, to focus on, not to push away, not to transcend and jump over, but to go through.
I love what you said, because really digging in deep, it's kind of like the work I do. It's those thoughts, those ideas, those belief systems that you've been pushing down your whole life, trying to avoid, because the subconscious mind is always going to move you from pain to pleasure. So one of the ways we do that is pushing down all those yucky thoughts, like that what you're talking about, that digging deep, getting into that stuff that's way down in your subconscious mind and bringing it up to the conscious mind. Is that true?
Yeah, that's very interesting that you say that, because in the tradition that I teach from, there are 4 causes of pain and suffering. The first cause is fear. The second cause is unattended grief and sorrow, which is huge in our culture. The third cause is our attachments to outcomes, and that's the ego thinking that it's in charge. And it's the attachment to, I want it to be this way, my way, or the highway. So all those subconscious attachments, judgments that we put onto daily life. And then the fourth cause is unexpressed anger, resentment. And so when we look at those in an internalized way and we get in touch with where that is in our physical being, in our emotional body, in our spiritual body, in our physical body, then we can begin to have a sense of our own internalized environment. And of course, a lot of that comes out of how we have been, what I call, enculturated in its society's messages, as well as our family messages, how we've been, you know, where we have grown up on the earth, the culture we've been grown into, our family messages. And I always like to say that there is a healer born into every family. And my grandpa used to say, you are the grit in the oyster. You are that thing that is causing the irritation. You see, and these life lessons that come to us are these challenge, there are what I call challenge teachers, challenge lessons that come to us. And that's the grit in the oyster. And what are you making? You're making a pearl. You know, and this is the gift, because it is through our pain and suffering, it is through learning how to navigate the challenge teachers in our life that we come to a deeper understanding and an internalized peace. And it's that place that we need to come to inside ourselves in order to bring it out into the world.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So Jane, I'd like to get into like your classes. I know you teach these amazing classes, how, you know, give people these amazing tools for them to take some personal responsibility and transform their lives. But before we get into that, could you tell us a little bit about the foundation of your teachings?
Yes, thank you.
Sure.
Yeah. I would say the foundation of my teachings are my life and my life experience. I don't say that it's one kind of training. You know, it's not Native American Indian, although I have that in my ancestry. It's not eco-psychology, although I have that as part of my clinical training. It's not Buddhism, although I have, you know, studied that. I would say that I'm a student of the world, and I'm a student of my own life. And so everything that I teach comes from my own inner practice, knowing that it works. And I've put it together in what makes sense for me in like pieces of a puzzle coming together. So what makes sense for me is that I put it together in the medicine wheel, because that is a mandala that makes sense for me. And we begin the teachings in the southern direction, which is the home of incubation. It's the beginning. It's the home of innocence and learning trust. And then we move in the second, there are 4 levels to the teaching. The second level of the teaching, we move into the western gate, which is the home of the watery world. It's the home of purification. Okay. And the thunder beings. And so, cracking open and looking under the surface. Because if you look at a pond, for example, you have half of the world above you, and then you have this hidden amount of the world that is underneath you, and then you have the pond. And so most people only look at the upper half of the pond, and that's what I call skimming. And I'm a deep water girl, and so I like to take people into the deep water, into the deep end, and give them the energy, the confidence, the truth telling to go into that deep end, and to take the mask off and go into the cave. Do you see? So the second level of the program is very deep transformational work. And then the third level of the program is the work of the mind, taming the mind. And I'm talking about the egoic mind here, the mind that thinks that it is in control, the mind that judges, makes value judgments, goes to quick conclusions, and it's very much the mind of the male or the patriarchy, which is, okay, I don't want to look at the problem, I want to look at solutions.
Easy solutions.
Easy solutions. I want the pill. I want the quick fix. I want, so I don't have to be in the pain and suffering and look at my own way that I judge myself and judge others. So level 3 of the program is really bringing us into what I call the place of self-responsibility, learning how to stop the judgment, our judgment of ourself. And we do a lot of self-forgiveness in the third level of the program. Working, and the element is the air, so it's like learning how to use the wind to clear the mind. And then we move in the fourth level of the program into the eastern gate, which is the home of fire and passion and creativity, but it's also the home of taking self-responsibility. And
say that again.
Yes. Yeah, one of my favorites. And it's the place of activism and manifestation. And so there's, in the fourth level of the program, the community that has chosen to gather with me and to go through these 4 years of program with me. And this is really like going to spiritual boot camp. It's like doing your PhD in spiritual and daily life practice, because everything I teach comes back to your life and can be woven into your life. There's nothing airy-fairy about this. I'm a quadruple Capricorn, for pity's sake. So everything has got to be practical and grounded and make sense. And one of my great teachers in my life was my grandpa, who was Mi'kmaq. And that's a Micmac from Nova Scotia, Canada. And he was a prophet and a seer, and he is still with me. He teaches a lot of the classes with me from the spirit realms. And he said to me, it don't mean a thing if it ain't got swing. And what he meant by that was, yeah, right, sing that. And because he was a great jazz aficionado, and he was a great musician. But what he meant by that was that spirituality and spiritual practice means nothing unless it can be applied. And so that's the whole crux and the foundation of my teaching.
It's so timely. I'm sitting here just getting like goosebumps through my whole body, because a lot of what you're doing is so similar to what a lot of people are doing right now. Right. And because in different ways, everybody's doing it in a different way. Yeah. But it's exactly what's needed on the planet. This is so timely. Yeah. And I see it in so many people. I hear it in all my clients. I've suffered enough.